Today, it's ChillPoint. No refunds.
This is ChillPoint.
I forgot how much time.
So
I
much
had
more
there.
time for words.
I'm inclined to believe that if you've already watched Checkpoint, and you come to watch ChillPoint, it's like at that point you've got your money's worth already.
Yeah,
so.
you know, if you're already tuning into ChillPoint and having watched Checkpoint, you've definitely reached the maximum of there can't be a refund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we refunding?
Pretty much nothing.
I can't refund people's time.
No.
I've tried, specifically for my own interests.
Yeah.
But it's not currently available.
I am keeping your $0 Kusunoki.
Yeah. I mean, you and I can work on that a little bit more, Paul. But I would say our current technology, even shared together, is not refunding time capable.
No.
And even if it is, I'm not sure I'm going to give it away for free.
Yeah. All I can
No,
recommend.
you wouldn't. Yeah, you might not want the time that you get back either. It might be like, that thing where like, when you get change or like money out from the bank, it's not the same money that you put in.
This is true. Yeah.
So you might get like somebody else's time. Would be weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend if you think that you've wasted time on doing the thing, I recommend doubling or tripling up other activities. Maybe listen to a podcast while you wash the dishes.
Isn't that what the coffee did to Graham? If he can't remember the time he's had, I'm not sure that's helpful.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we mostly talk about video game news, with occasional digressions into other things. Sometimes philosophical questions
space-time
about
continuum.
the nature of time. And we also talked about the episode of Checkpoint that went up yesterday, which if you haven't watched yet, you should, but probably not like right now.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you are allowed to pause and go watch that video.
Yes.
If you want to do 3 screens at a time where you have similar voices talking over each other, which I don't really recommend, I won't stop you.
No.
But ideally,
We are also
you're
working
here
on that
now.
technology.
Let's
though.
live in this moment.
While they are talking, I will be rereading my stories underneath in a much lower voice.
Why would you do that to
But
people?
we'll be putting it in the left channel, and they'll be in the right channel. So you
No. No, I only did that gig once on a mail time, and I tried to keep it short because I even hated that
Yeah.
that happened.
can only listen to the sound of my voice. Do not listen to the person in the other speaker.
So, ChillPoint or Checkpoint. Let's see. Well,
What was
first story we talked about was Zelda,
Sure was.
and now before, like when I was looking at stories, obviously there's a lot of Zelda news and sort of
it
stuff.
is the hot game with all the tips and tricks going out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some stories of the kind that we the kind of thing that we could potentially feature on Checkpoint.
Yes.
Stuff like people making, ridiculous contraptions.
Oh, yes.
People doing ridiculous speed runs.
Yeah.
All the kind of stuff that is definitely something that is in our wheelhouse on Checkpoint. But I was thinking that at least the week after, like maybe we won't do any stories that are like about the actual content
No.
of Zelda.
Yeah.
Whereas we did some stories about the about stuff sort of around the game,
Yeah,
the
people
actual
lining up,
retail stuff
like that.
Yeah. Keep
but
you spoiler free.
But yeah, we kept it spoiler free this week. I can't guarantee that will be going
Yeah.
forward. We try not to like put a ton of spoilers in Checkpoint stuff,
mean-
but there's screenshots and things. So
I'm willing to stay away from like story spoilers because there's so many other things you can discuss about the game without getting into plot.
yeah. It's
which-
like if the fact that this character is in the game you consider to be a spoiler, then I guess maybe that would be bad in certain circumstances, but whatever.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like people making ridiculous contraptions and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think after a bit that's just fun.
that you can make ridiculous contraptions is not in itself a spoiler.
Yeah. And we talked about how well it sold.
Yes.
Yeah, it sold extremely well, and yeah, as I do love the. I remember because I think we did a story about it on ChillPoint back when the Switch came out.
Yes.
That they sold more copy on launch day for the Switch. They sold more copies of
Breath of
the
the Wild.
Wild than actual Switches existed in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that, because if you own a Switch, then you can buy it digitally. But if you don't own a Switch, you can't buy it digitally,
No,
which means they
because-
would have had to have probably sold through very many of their physical copies to actually get above that attach rate.
And then, despite that being a very large attach rate or a very large amount, it is very small in comparison to the 10 million that they sold in the first 3 days of for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, and there's this thing of like when the things that are being said for I don't know where the number of 4 million came from, because Game Informer did write a quick little 3-paragrapher on this whole little phenomenon that happened. And they said, oh, they sold over 4 million in the Americas or in America or whatever. And I'm like, great, citation needed. Please source where this came from. Is it a tweet? Is it from somewhere else? And there was nothing linked. So I had to kind of take it on faith that I'm like, those numbers came from somewhere, and you got them from somebody, and maybe there was a press release, and I could go digging for the press release, and I did actually, but what came up for me was Nintendo UK's thing about 10 million worldwide, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, so we know the fastest selling Nintendo game in America, but that means of all time? The fastest selling Nintendo game of all time in America? I'm like, maybe that's what they mean?
I mean, we do see these things come up quite often.
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, there are more people playing video games now than there ever have been.
Yes.
So basically, every new game that comes out breaks a record because
Yes.
there are more. The most popular game that comes out now will sell more copies than the most popular game that came out 10 years ago, just because there are more people who buy the game.
Yeah.
And their distribution is better and that kind of stuff. So, which is great, But so obviously you can't compare necessarily numbers. You say that whether Tears of the Kingdom is a more successful video game than, say, A Link to the Past,
Yeah.
which sold way less copies, but is obviously a massive
Right.
cultural touchstone.
And the parsing of the language is what kills me, because I'm saying in the article, fastest selling Nintendo game in America. I'm like, okay, is that the fastest selling game for a Nintendo platform fastest selling for a Nintendo platform game in America of all time? Or do they mean a fastest selling Nintendo published game in America for all time, or fastest selling Nintendo programmed game in first party game of all time?
I thought the shoulder graphic said that this makes it the fastest selling Nintendo game of all time. But in a way that
It doesn't.
combined all the numbers.
It's kind of it doesn't make clear where that 4 million came from in this article, and I'm like, I am still a little skeptical of what this actually means. It just means, though, of course, a lot sold. But the parsing of the language is what was killing me on that one, which is
Okay.
why then I moved on to the one about 10 million worldwide, which makes it the fastest selling game in the Legend of Zelda franchise. And I'm like, that's more concrete as an ideal. That's worldwide, they sold 10 million in 72 hours, and that's the most Zelda games that ever got sold in that time period.
And I'm assuming Pokemon would be the only Nintendo console game that would be selling more than that.
I think it's the only rival that fast, because Mario Kart's probably sold more, but never sold that fast.
And I mean, around the same time, actually, in the last week or so, the Elden Ring hit 20 million.
Jesus.
So,
Yeah.
and that's been out for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I mean, the real news will be whether or not Tears of the Kingdom outsells Breath of the Wild.
Overall, yeah.
Because
Long
Breath of the
term.
Wild is 28, cresting on 29 million
Yeah.
lifetime. And as of like their last earnings report or whatever when they released that information, and generally sequels don't typically go as high because like there are a bunch of people who played Breath of the Wild who did not gel with it.
Yes.
They do not like that game.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at Tears of the Kingdom, you didn't like Breath of the Wild for like a lot of the reasons that people don't gel with it, you're not likely to like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
If you're on the fence, maybe, but
I mean, it is, Zelda games have a history of kind of, reinventing themselves in a way that is, very illustrates that they know what they're doing in terms of, the various Zelda games are quite different. But there are definitely series.
There's a bunch that have like a sequel attached to it, like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask.
Yeah, and so
Link
like
to the
this,
Past.
Link Between Worlds.
Well, I was gonna say Link's
Awakening. Yeah,
and so like this one is clearly Tears of the Kingdom is it's clearly more of Tears, more of.
It's not just a sequel that follows on directly. It's literally happening in the same land. Which were like Majora's Mask does not, and Link's Awakening does not. They go to a different thing, but they're meant to be
and
a follow.
that was one of the concerns.
Yeah.
Prior to the game coming out, it's like, well, it's the same map, it's the same Hyrule. If the game's about exploring, what am I exploring? That kind of thing, right?
And they find their way.
And well, sure, of course they will, but that's still like the thing, right? It's when you buy a serial of books that has a continuous thing going on, the first book. The first episode of something always does the best in general.
Yes.
Because that's where you grab people to stay on forward.
Right.
And in that context, people generally have to watch or read the first thing to really get into the thing, and that's not quite the same thing that's happening here, but it is still a direct sequel. There's still a lot of people already kind of know what they're going to get in terms of what the gameplay is going to be like and whether or not that's a thing for them.
Yes, that's very true. You're going to find very few people, I think, who pick up Tears of the Kingdom as their, like, I'm going to play this one. But there will be people out there who are like, oh, well, I heard that these games are out and I haven't played a Zelda yet. I'm at a certain age where I haven't done that and I want to, so I'll play just the newest one.
And there'll be a little bit of that, too. But it's just one of those things of, will it surpass the one before it? It might not.
Yes.
It might get really close to it, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other part of this story, of course, because this wasn't really a roundup, it was just me condensing a couple things that I wanted to talk about. Edge Magazine and Famitsu Magazine both giving it a 10 out of 10, and giving it 100%.
Yeah.
Perfect score.
So, and what I sort of learned in the course of looking at this, the significance of that is that Edge Magazine is considered to be kind of a not only a tough reviewer, but sort of apparently anyway, it is considered to be, the main
tastemaker.
The main video game for Europe. It's sort of the main place. It's sort of the the video game equivalent of like newspaper of record,
right? Or like the Michelin star manual.
When people get on the cover of that magazine, it's very exciting. It's like it seems like it's a really big deal,
right?
And Famitsu is sort of the same for Japan.
Yeah,
Famitsu is definitely the same for Japan.
And the frustrating thing for me as the person trying to do graphics for this story is that Edge doesn't actually have much of a online presence almost at all,
which is surprising for a magazine. Yeah,
like their online presence, because they're owned by, I think they're owned by like Games Radar or something now.
Okay.
And so if you go to like Edge Magazine, if you search for it, it basically just takes you to the Games Radar thing.
Okay.
Weirdly, the Games Radar review for Tears of the Kingdom was not 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was like 9 out of 10 or something, which is confusing.
Yeah, given that the tough reviewer was like, it's 10 out of 10. We have to give it that.
And then Famitsu has what I think is actually a really neat way of reviewing, where every review in Famitsu is done by 4 people. Mm-hmm. They have 4 different reviews. And then the final result is out of 40.
Yeah.
Each person does 10 out of 10. So it seems like
actually kind of neat.
that seems like a neat way of getting a really wide
range
of opinions for your reviews.
And
seems
it's
like,
hard-
I don't know if they do that for every game, but
I think it's hard to get 4 gamers to agree on anything. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it got a 40 out of 40. But again, now Famitsu does have a website. Obviously, it's all in Japanese, and also it's just got these 4 reviews at various, in the website. Like it's not like so I wanted like a screenshot of like 40 out of 40 from Famitsu,
Yeah.
or 10 out of 10 from Edge, and I just couldn't find something that was like a useful screenshot.
Yeah.
So that was annoying for me for doing graphics. But
but them both giving it 10 out of 10 and having that kind of confluence and being like, yes, that's actually only happened 6 times prior.
I don't agree with all of their choices.
No, I'm surprised too.
yeah. So
Like even if we go to like the time period in which those games came out, because time can make
Yeah.
Sure can. That's why
do
you give
whatever.
Skyward Sword what you get.
I still don't agree with
Yeah.
some of those.
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, GTA 5, Bayonetta.
Yeah.
And that is very interesting. Like Bayonetta, I have not played it, but by all accounts, was a very good game, but not the best game.
No, I agree, right?
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5, again, I mean, it certainly has had a lot of legs in terms of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like it very much.
Oh, okay.
I was more into the GTA, like the earlier GTA
Like
things.
3 and
3, yeah, in San Andreas and stuff. And by the time they got to 5, they started being like, I don't know, trying to make it like realistic
okay.
in a weird way that was like, I don't know.
But that
I didn't play it very much, so maybe it gets
Yeah.
more silly later on. But it just was like, this is not fun.
But yeah, definitely I just was kind of like what I remember the big deal being is when Ocarina of Time came out, it was the highest rated game. If you go to Metacritic, it was like the highest rated game forever. It was just like, this game has a near perfect score because so many people reviewed it as being this amazing thing. And I'm like, right, and that's contextually for the time.
Yeah,
it
for the
was
time,
kind of light years beyond what people expected.
for when I played it, I would have
Yeah.
given it a 10 out of 10, but I was also a child.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
technically
remember,
adult.
I definitely remember Skyward Sword, people being a little bit more mixed on.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Okay, I've played the HD version, which fixes a few things, and not everything. And even then, I'm like, I like this game,
Yeah.
but it is also one of the few Zelda games where I've given up on side quests and minigames
Oh.
because I don't think they're worth it.
See, and when I played it, like I played it when it came out on
Yeah.
the Wii, and I had been waiting for another Zelda game because Twilight Princess for the Wii had come out, and it's like I played that and really enjoyed it, and we were hearing there was supposed to be another one coming out, but then it's this sense of like, is it coming to whatever the next gen console is going to be? Because I think we're expecting the next gen console. No, it drops on the Wii, and it's like, oh my god, new Zelda game, new Wiimote that comes with it, and so. Yeah, and I had a great time playing it. But like I say in my story, it's like, it's a good Zelda game. It's not 100% perfect.
Oh, no.
And that's, even then I was like, this is fun. This is interesting, and has some different things in it. I'm having a good time playing it.
I had more fun playing it than I did having played like Oracle of Ages, which I actually disliked so much I might not even play Oracle of Seasons.
It definitely did give me the feeling of you can love, you can have a good time playing a game and also still feel like this is not a 100% perfect whatever, in retrospect, looking back, I mean, like, yeah, that game could have been a lot better. That game could have been Breath of the Wild.
I mean, I fully believe you read a review and you should be looking at who the reviewer is, because people have biases, and if you can find people who have similar tastes to you, then those reviews are much more suited towards what will fall in line with what you want.
Yeah, and then in that case, I prefer a subjective review a lot of times too. I prefer someone to be like, I want to tell you how I felt while I was playing this.
And I mean, clearly, even over quite a long period of time, both Famitsu and Edge are big Zelda fans.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
It's quite.
I mean, I think those, a lot of those games could be considered to be, held up as great games.
Yes.
But it does seem like there's maybe a little bit of whatever thumb on the scale there on a couple.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call, if I had to come up with the top 6 games ever made,
Yes.
4 of them wouldn't be Zelda games,
No.
is what I'm saying. Maybe one of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Breath
for me.
of the Wild was one of those games that generally
two.
hit like 9 or a 10 when it came out.
Yeah.
It hit lower on with a couple of reviewers because they didn't gel with like some of those mechanics. So if you don't, maybe you should be paying attention to those reviewers because they might be more in line with you. And I feel like what I've played of Tears of the Kingdom is so much more and just excels so much more at the feelings and things I had from Breath of the Wild that I'm like, if I've reviewed Breath of the Wild at a 10 of 10, I'd have to give Tears of the Kingdom like an 11 or something.
Yeah.
Like it just...
I mean, that's you were talking about the sequel thing,
Yeah.
and that's the sort of flip side of the sequel thing is that you you take the game that everybody liked,
Yeah.
refine it.
refine it, fix all the things and make it better,
Yeah.
and then do that, and
Well-
it's like, oh, that was what we all wanted.
Maybe not all the things. The primary complaint about Breath of the Wild is weapon durability. People hated that idea, and I didn't mind it so much. And in playing Tears of the Kingdom, my primary complaint is I'm like, weapon durability. I didn't have that in the first game, but I have it now, and I'm like, weapon durability I'm not a big fan of, but it's more weapon strength I'm not a big fan of. But I think that's a balance issue, and I think I'm kind of starting to understand why they're doing it, and we'll maybe hear more about that in like the coming months from me. But yeah,
Maybe we'll see. I definitely want to play further in. I need to play enough of the games so I can feel comfortable going and reading like some of the developer interviews and stuff, so I can get a sense of what they were going with versus what I think and how I feel about everything overall. But that's like a long term.
And largely, yeah, reviews I think are supposed to encapsulate how you felt about a game, and when you can, like you say, when you find a reviewer that has similar tastes, then you kind of.
I mean, that's
out
the
of
case, with video games or
movies
or any reviewer kind of thing. Like what you want is you, like someone who has the same opinion as you do, but is able to articulate it better.
There's that,
right?
yeah.
Like that's what you want to find
That's
in a
generally,
reviewer.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, for instance.
Well, because sometimes you can see a thing and you're just like, I hate everything, but you can't. Again, that's not useful information to anybody.
Yes.
But so if you can tell somebody why you don't like a thing, like you don't like weapon degradation. Well, why is that? Well, it's because they break all the time, and I like having weapons that I can hang on to. It's like, okay, game not for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
good to know. Like that's a good thing to know. So when you see it in other games, you can be like, let's not bother spending the $70 day launch at that one. I guess I'm a PC gamer. I'll wait for it to hit $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
I mean, I tend to, I tend to agree with Yahtzee with Zero Punctuation. He's steered me correctly
He does
most
pretty
of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't look at that many reviews for games, but that's sort of, I usually find his takes to be at least, if not lining up with my opinion, then interesting. Makes a good argument for it, and be like, okay, I can see that.
So I read Nintendo Life reviews because I run straight to the bottom, not to read the score, but to read the pros and cons. And then if there's specific cons in there, then I will jump back up into the article to see if they describe it more, to see if that's a thing. I watch Switch Up reviews on YouTube because they also do like the different categories, but they do scoring, and when they tell you things about music, they like leave some of the music playing for a few seconds so you can actually get a sense of it on top of that.
Okay.
And those things. So I really like watching their stuff.
And I think, and what you're saying about going down and looking at the pros and cons, like, and there is that, like, I find that's a big thing, right? There's certain, and usually it's like cons rather than pros. It's like there's some things that can be a deal breaker for playing a game for certain people that isn't, for other people. I think I've said this before, we're talking about Zelda stuff. I never got very far in Majora's Mask. I hate being rushed in video games.
Yes.
I hate having a time limit.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you can reset it, it's like...
If you can reset it, it gives me bad feels.
Sure.
And so I didn't enjoy that very much.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's a bad game or anything, but just that particular mechanic frustrates me, and so if I see a game that has that, it's difficult for me. I'm usually not that interested.
Yeah, like I will look at both pros and cons, but yeah, you're right. It's generally the cons that are gonna get you, where it's like someone will write something like, "Oh, well, the puzzle difficulty on this game isn't very high," and I'm like, "Well, it doesn't matter. I want to play this game for story, so maybe I don't want high. Like that's fine as a con."
Yeah.
Of course, then you play it and it's like,
or maybe
you said these were gonna be easy puzzles,
or maybe it'll be like, "Oh, the load screens are a little long," and I'm like, "I play Nintendo games. I'm used to that."
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. Or it'll be like, everything glitches out every 40 seconds and you can soft lock yourself. I'm like, okay, not so okay with that one. Maybe I'll wait to see if it gets patched, know.
So
occasionally your save game corrupts and you lose all your progress.
That dials into a third thing. There was a third Tears of the Kingdom story, and since we're kind of just doing them right now, if we can cover that one before we jump onto the rest of ChillPoint. Modern Vintage Gamer, whose videos I love, made a video when Tears of the Kingdom came out that was like, Tears of the Kingdom is a masterpiece, and I'm meaning to watch it because I'm like, I like to see what his take on it, but I want to play more myself before I get spoiled on things. Followed that up with a video of Tears of the Kingdom runs like a fucking potato, and he didn't say that. I'm saying that because that's what people tend to act like. What he said is that there are slowdowns in Tears of the Kingdom that can be fixed through overclocking. Right. And so I haven't read I read the article, but I haven't watched the video because I'm interested to see how he does it. Because I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is not a normal thing to do, to overclock a Switch to do it.
Well, I
obviously
disagree. It's not a casual thing to do.
Thank you.
But
there are people who do it.
Overclocking the Switch in order to deal with slowdowns and stuff is not a new thing.
Right. It is a thing that exists, but it's not like a normal, like a casual person, just a standard player. I won't do that. I'm a tech guy even, and I wouldn't say I need to do that, right? I've overclocked computers for years.
My understanding of overclocking your Switch is that you're going to run into potential heating issues and other things. Like that's the whole reason why.
You're going to also void your warranty, of course.
And the bits that I got from reading the article, though, too, is that it's like you can do a mild overclock. Like you can just bump the clock speed a little bit, and you'll see wherever there might be frame slowdown, you'll see some of that stuff go away, but not a lot. But if you really want it to actually always run at a certain level, you can bump your Switch up to 1.8 gigahertz, which apparently is quite the bump.
Well, it's what I found interesting about that article is trying to overclock different, like it was overclocking the processor
CPU versus the GPU,
the CPU versus the GPU versus the memory.
Right.
And the memory is what did it. Even keeping the CPU and the GPU at base clock speed.
Okay.
Bumping the memory up from like 1.2 to 1.6 or I don't know what it was. Whatever.
Yeah.
Bumping the memory up apparently just makes everything rock solid 30 frames.
Damn.
Butter.
Yeah, because he was was saying that you can't really do anything to drop it after that point, because it's like once you've done that, it's like the game will always run. We couldn't figure out any way to actually make it slow down.
So I mean that kind of stuff is interesting because of course that shows where the bottleneck is in terms of doing things, right?
Exactly.
Apparently the big one is, there's certain, from what I have gathered, it's like mostly good, but then there's like a couple of like abilities that you can do that get have a ridiculous number of effects.
The Ultra Hand and Fuse, I think, probably are the ones that really like activate a lot of particle effects and a lot of like lighting effects and stuff, and that will cause it. And what's weird is, I mean, when I was playing it, there were people on the other side of Twitch who were being like, man, I just saw frame drop or whatever, that kind of thing. It's like, well, that could have been multiple reasons. Obviously, it could have been Twitch. It could have been the encoder. It could have been OBS. It could have been the transport between
watching
Switch
it on
and,
Twitch is probably not a great example. Yeah.
But one thing I have noticed myself is that I haven't noticed a frame drop. And I think it's one of those things where you mentioned this. You said, because perceptually, if you're concentrating on doing a thing, you maybe aren't processing all of the visuals if you're not looking for it. And I'm never looking to see if my frames are dropping, so I never really feel if there's like a slowdown.
My suggestion was that if you are using Ultra Hand and it makes everything go like the weird colors and stuff, like all the effects, your focus is on sticking a couple things together, not on what everything in the environment looks around
or I'm
you.
looking for orange glows so I can see what I can interact with. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if this is true,
Yeah.
but I know that, like, I mean, Nintendo is the kind of a company and that has the kind of experience that I would not be surprised if they're actually doing stuff to, like, prioritize the frame buffer on the things that you'll notice or the things that are like in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, like UI call-ups. I have swapped between UIs incredibly fast because I always screw up which picker I'm picking, and I'm like, it's going in and out of UIs like all the time, and I'm like, that's very responsive.
I was reading I think it was the video games channel in the Discord, and Wiggins was in there talking where there was talk going on about frame rates and stuff, and he said something along the lines of every decision made as a developer is a decision of compromise. That there are points where you will literally compromise frame drops in lieu of something else because that lets you get to do something more interesting.
Right.
And yeah, if you're really focused on everything in the world has to be 60 frames per second hard stop, you're not likely to get that like ever.
Yeah.
Now there's a point where like if the frames drop to like 2 frames a second or like even I guess 15 or where that's really harsh.
Yeah.
They're gonna want to avoid some of that.
Yeah.
But there is a point where you are making a compromise and you're aware of it.
Yeah.
It's and I mean it's interesting because they're locked 30 frames or not locked, but they're
the attempt is to make it frames, their target.
If you remember 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of consternation about the game that Redfall being stuck at 30 frames a second.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, this is unplayable.
Yes.
But when you're in the context
that
they're using it in, and when you know how to sort of design the game with that in mind, it changes things. Like I remember when Breath of the Wild came out, I didn't have a Switch, but I remember hearing that people were like kind of iffy on the frame rate. They were like, it's great. It's just a shame that there's like some bad frame stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing it now. I don't know if there have been updates, but I've been playing it recently. I've been borrowing Heather's copy when I was like, hey, I want to play a Zelda game too.
Yeah. I'm feeling left out.
And I haven't noticed any frame stuff. It's possible that there has been some.
The majority of where you'll really notice it, if you're going to notice it, is going to be in like the Lost Woods. Just because there's lots of trees, there's lots of particle effects, there's fog. And that's where it's like one of the most noticeable.
And it also is, of course, disgusting to see it versus Pokemon Scarlet, which I've been playing with my brother.
Yeah.
Which is, it's 5 years has passed since, and Pokemon Scarlet looks so bad.
That one is a buggy mess.
Yeah. But, again, reviewing incredibly high, people saying it's a fantastic game because they're having a ton of fun with it.
Right.
And
it's
I'm
a 10, but it's a buggy mess.
Yeah, exactly. It's a buggy 10, and that's so weird because
it's not a 10.
Yeah, but there is that feeling of wow, you can make a game that's a 9 out of 10, and you can still have it be have it act this way, but people will rave about, I'm having such a good time playing it, and it's like, really, that's what we're here for. Like, ultimately, that's what we're here to do, is to have fun playing a game.
I agree, but I also stay away from those conversations online because watching people yell at each other is really not my speed.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, apparently, I mean, obviously, overclocking your Switch will do potentially bad things.
Yeah.
And will violate your warranty and all that kind of stuff. But apparently, it can help in certain circumstances.
Which means I look forward to whatever the next Switch, and if it's backwards compatible, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is actually why part of the reason people were thinking that they were going to do 4K upscale. DSLL or whatever that's called, because there are some games that basically are set to have their frame rates kind of like listed as unlimited. So if you overclock, you can get that to work better. There are some games, however, that don't have that. They're set so that they're more stable, which a stable frame rate way better than one that bobs up and down. And it doesn't matter if you overclock your Switch for those, because it internally will have that cut.
Target, yeah. Makes
there's
play to here.
Yeah, there's lots of games that I mean, somebody mentioned Bloodborne, which was known for running it was a 30 frames a second game.
Yeah.
And it can't on PC people tried to make it run 60 frames a second using a patch, and it didn't work. Huge amount of work had to be done to make it run 60 frames a second because it was locked at 30. Timers in the game were based on that.
Yeah.
So when you put it up to 60 frames a second, like, your sword would just fall apart really quickly. Because there's all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah, Dark Souls had that kind of thing too.
A lot of frame rate dropping things I don't really notice, thankfully, because I do think that would probably bug me if I did notice it a lot. And I'm kind of used to that sort of thing, so as long as the game's fun, I'm good. I try to have a little bit of empathy for people who there are some people who visually do get sick if they can't not see it. And we live in one of those things where it's like, because there's stuff that exists at higher frame rates, if you're used to that, it's harder to go back.
Oh yeah.
So I make fun of it a little bit, but I do have some empathy for a few people. Not everybody.
And I think there is also just the thing, like, when you're playing a game like Legend of Zelda or something that is sort of in a kind of cartoony style, there's a lot more. It's that sort of uncanny valley thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you're playing something that is supposed to look hyper realistic.
Yeah.
And everything looks great, but the frame rate is not what it should be. That disconnect in your brain is a lot stronger, I think.
So we were over at a friend's house. I think I'm not allowed to say people's names when we talk about friends. I can't remember. We were over at a friend's house. We were all playing Zelda together. They were playing it on their TV.
Shut your face. I'm not your friend.
And they were playing it on their TV. And I looked up to watch, and I was like, why does everything look so weird on the TV? And I realized game mode was on. So everything was like...
Oh, it's got, like, motion smoothing?
Well, and that's the thing, is I said, your motion smoothing's on. And they were like, what? No, it isn't. And I said, I think when the game mode turned on, I think it turned on your motion smoothing, because it was automatic. It detected the switch, and it said, oh, I better put on game mode.
Yeah.
And so the motion smoothing, I was like, you have been playing the game with this on and did not realize it was there. I have been playing the game on my TV at home where I do not turn the game mode on at all. I just play it normally. And it does not look... It looks weirdly, unnaturally smooth to me.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to say when you expect a game to be smooth.
Fun fact, not all TVs call it motion smoothing now. They put it under some other weird option names. And
because people want it to turn off. And
no,
it's like, why make it more difficult to turn off?
I went on a trip like some months ago with a friend, and we were staying at like wherever place, and we turned on the TV, and we're like, oh no, you can definitely see it. And we tried to watch like Luca, and we're like, no, can't handle it. How do we turn it off? There's nothing called motion smoothing, but you know that's what's happening.
Yeah, something called Motion Plus.
We spent half an hour trying to fix that.
Did you find what the
We
setting
finally
was?
got it turned off. It was
Secret
like
menu?
a secret menu with like a bar where you had to turn everything down to 0 to make it do a different frame rate thing, and it was so awful.
But what is weird to me is that watching it be that smooth on a big TV, I was kind of like, it looks really good, but also weirdly, like, and it looks unnatural, but it looks really good. And I'm like, is this what the people who play 60 frames a second games get to see all the time? Is this kind of thing? That's pretty damn good. So I don't like it.
I'm not sure.
But I like it, but I don't like it.
Part of me, I mean, for one thing, there's nothing really making me want to buy a PS5.
Yeah.
But there's also like this part of me that's like, if I jump forward, how hard of a time will I have trying to jump back if I still want to do other stuff?
See, the way I do it is I go between, playing Switch or playing other things and playing PC games. But my home computer is not that good. So I'm probably at around like 30 to 45 frames a second anyway.
Fair.
So
Yeah.
the transition is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Maybe I should check my TV and see if I have something set wrong.
speaking of PC games, Overwatch 2 is a game.
Jesus, yeah.
Is
And however, it may not be the game that they were hoping it was going to be, because they have announced. Well, they didn't announce that they were doing this. They put out their new roadmap,
Yes.
which kind of noticeably didn't have this on it, and then
Right.
people started asking
Yeah.
about it.
And then a developer, or an interview with two developers, one of them said, "Oh yeah, we didn't think we'd be able to build the PvE part of the game when we were finishing
And-
the PvP part of the game."
And the discussion around this is a little awkward, or is a little confusing, because according to Blizzard, there still very much is a PvE portion of the game,
Cool.
despite all our headlines saying that they've
so
canceled the PvE part.
Yeah.
from what I can tell, there is and there isn't. There's
Well,
pieces of it.
yeah, and Overwatch has had PvE events
Yeah,
before, and they're going to keep doing that.
but they're not gonna have like the regular. You can just do it anytime
I don't think
thing
so.
from the looks of things.
Interesting.
And it also, there isn't going to be a progression system, which was the big thing that they were talking about. So they're not going to be able to do the thing that they were really touting as like the big thing, which is like the sort of persistent progression thing, basically making it possible to do kind of a single player
Right.
experience,
With
or
the tech
a
trees and
a
the-
tech tree and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there are still PvE things, but they aren't the things that people were hoping for when they said PvE.
Right.
So that is disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like the disappointment just piles on because they shut down Overwatch 1.
Right.
Overwatch 2 is we've done stories before about how it's basically like free to play, but you needed like a phone number or whatever to get an account, so there were like weird things over there.
So
And,
yeah, people were already
you know,
like a little bit shaky on
yeah,
Overwatch 2.
people already
Yeah.
had like some not great feelings towards Overwatch 2, and yeah.
So yeah, it's the thing of, yeah, if you're a game developer out there and people are and you have to announce or you have to cancel something or announce that something or push it back or something like that. As some advice, I would say don't explain how difficult the feature that you were advertising is to make,
Yes.
because we all assumed that you knew that. Like this guy's, he
You're
goes,
professional developers.
he goes, there's 40 to 50 talents per hero plus over 35 heroes. You're looking at thousands of talents to make everything just to get out the door, just to get out the door, plus all the other content and missions. And it's like, yes, presumably on your timeline 3 years ago when you guys started development of this game, you would have known all of that.
Yeah,
That's
we
not
thought
new
that would have been
information.
in the initial planning
Yeah.
and part of like why everything is taking so long. And
This
Yeah.
isn't your first kick at the cat, right? It's kind of like you've made.
That's not what that phrase is.
But it's like you've
I'm surprised at you. That's not usually your style.
you've made Overwatch 1, and then you were thinking about all the things you wanted to do, I'm sure, with Overwatch 2 and dreaming up all this stuff, and it's like, and also some of you are developers that have worked on other games before, and you're like, you've seen all the work that goes into this stuff. Your planning process should have included, and we could add this, and we could add this, and we could add that, and it's like, yeah, all this stuff sounds great. You didn't just say, quick, throw it at marketing and let them tell the world about it, and then we'll figure out later whether we can do it or not. You had to have done planning, I'm sure, at some point to be like, okay, this is what we expect to do. And then I guess whoever was there before you...
I mean, yeah, maybe they got stuck with a shit sandwich.
They were like, oh, we can totally make this, and then they were like, oh, but also now I have to leave because I'm a shitbag, and then they did, and the people who were left are being like, we were never going to be able to make this. What is wrong with the people who were here before? Oh, I know what was wrong with the people here before us, and also the other thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also that thing of like, if you can avoid it, don't overpromise. Because then it's harder to underdeliver, right? Like, we see this a lot usually we make fun of this with something like Peter Molyneux.
That's
where it's like there's this dude who's out there and he just
that
says,
kind of,
hey, here's all this cool stuff we could do.
That kind
right?
of,
and he's like, please never do that again, right?
That kind of public speculation.
That is an actual Canadian idiom.
A kick at the cat?
A kick at the cat. I've heard it for years.
I've heard kick at the can.
No, first kick at the cat. I've heard that for years.
I feel like I don't know you.
It's a terrible thing.
Kicking a can, kicking a can, that was like a kickball thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So take a kick at the can, take another kick at the can.
Yes. Kick the can. Yeah.
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 That's what that comes from.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I feel
Cats
like I don't.
are not part
I feel
of
like
it.
I
That's an
don't.
idiom.
I feel like I don't know you. A kick at the cat all of a sudden comes out. You've been saying skookum all of a sudden, like repetitively.
Well, you live on the coast,
and,
you tend to do that a little more, I think.
And I'm just like, I
Did
don't
you not?
know this
Did you never say
person.
skookum before you came to the coast?
No. My mother did it a few times because she grew up in New West. And so
He's been saying it a lot more regularly.
She said it a few
lately.
times. When we moved out here, I noticed that you said it and Graham says it, and I'm kind of like, at some point it slipped into conversation a couple times for me, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually it's a really, it's a good word. I might as well keep using that. But I mean, like, my mother said shit hemorrhage all the time when I was growing up. The person that had shit hemorrhage, and it was kind of like, oh, that's a normal thing to say.
No, again, that one is also weird.
People find it weird.
But also, like, that's your mom, and you don't really say that a lot.
Do you call a pullover hoodie with a pocket a bunny hug? Nobody else calls it that, huh? What? Huh?
Nope.
No?
That's Saskatchewan, dude. And
Anyway.
You know that.
Anyway. So yeah.
How dare you when Adam's not even in the room?
Just saying, we called it bunny hugs in my house too, and we lived next to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and I did a lot of things that made fun of Saskatchewan when I lived next to it. So
It's just like it's like bunnies not known for hugging things.
No.
Not known for having hoods.
No, not known for having pockets.
Not known for having pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Like why a butt? Like
it was a kangaroo sweater for a while. And
yeah, kangaroo makes sense.
Makes
it's got
a lot
the pocket.
of sense. And
yeah.
then at some point it became a bunny hug, and I'm like, I don't know why
Fine.
we're calling it this
I'm
now,
gonna
but I
start
guess that's what
calling
we're
them
calling it.
jumpers.
I hate that I've derailed this, but I was
Anyway.
like, you have never heard kick at the cat before? I've heard that for years.
I mean, I may have heard it. People goofing on the kick of the can.
No, I
expression,
think maybe that was literally they've been saying that.
Where
for
were
years,
we
but-
in this story?
Yeah.
Anyway, talking about Blizzard and that they didn't sell things, they didn't set this thing up very well, and yeah, and this idea of explaining that it was difficult to do. Also, 40 to 50 talents for each hero. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what a talent is on a hero.
I mean, if you think of like when you're playing like Sundered or playing like those kind of things where it's like you have a tech tree that you're filling out by earning experience.
Sure.
I mean, you played Mario vs. Rabbids or Mario and Rabbids. They
But
have
like
tech
in
trees.
but in Overwatch, each character has like, guns and like ult fire and stuff. But you don't have 50 things that you can do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
it might be things like, oh, well, you get your ult recharges faster, but I'm like, those are not things that would then be unique to each character. That would
Not
be a thing where
really.
it's like you can use that in other places.
A lot of them would be very much the same, or they would be like maybe a different name, but kind of the same idea.
Yeah, because like XCOM has like 8 or 9 talents per class. Like they have a skill tree that works on you pick a lane, and then you pick things that kind of fit with the thing you might be doing. But that's like 5 classes, 6 classes, and 7 or 8 different things that can add to that. And it's like, that is manageable. But saying 35 different things per character, it's like, is Tracer just going to run faster? Like,
Nobody told you to make 35 heroes.
no.
Anyway, so it's unfortunate. Who knows? You know, obviously people are very annoyed. Like ChillPoint, you can't really get a refund because it was free to play.
Yes.
But I guess people are, annoyed that their Overwatch 1 got taken away.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of can't blame them because it feels like there's an instance of like, yeah, Overwatch 1 will probably go away eventually, but they like canned it just as Overwatch 2 came out, and that feels a lot more like a tactic of, well, now you have to play Overwatch 2
Yeah.
rather than a slow crossover.
It's one of those things where like the end result is not necessarily that bad, but the way it was framed, when it's sort of framed as this other, we're doing it for this reason, and then it becomes clear that definitely wasn't the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. And
Bad feels.
And of course, for variety of other reasons, Blizzard does not have a lot of goodwill in any community, let alone their own community.
Yeah.
At the moment.
I don't think I've heard generally anything positive about them for some time.
It is also very surprising to see 2 devs come forward to do interviews where at least one of them...
This is director and producer.
Yeah.
So these are the two top
the 2
Overwatch folks.
Exactly. To have them come forward in an interview and be incredibly candid, it sounds like, very frank about the experience and their expectations and where they saw things going and how they saw things developing, and then see how the media response... Because I love that image you put up that was like, Overwatch 2 PvE is still coming March 23rd, 2023.
That was one of these guys, by the way. That was Jared. I think that was Jared Nuss. It was during a Twitch live stream. Somebody asked him about it, and he was like, "There's going to be some great news about PvE coming soon." And people were like, "Do you mean soon or Blizzard soon?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it's going to be soon, and you're going to be very excited."
Yeah.
In March.
Great news.
March 2023.
We've canceled it. It's I think it's interesting, and also though, there's nothing to preclude the fact that both of these things are true at the same time, because I saw a tweet fly past us in chat where it was like, apparently no, the PvE experience is still being worked on at Blizzard, despite the fact that we're hearing that, we were never going to deliver on that and nothing's coming out of that. And it's like, okay, multiple things might be true at the same time. There might be this expectation with the company that's like, we have no idea how we're going to deliver on this, because at the time that this got developed, we thought we could do it. We saw that we can't do it. We don't think we're going to be able to do it. And now we're still taking the position that we're going to just try to do it.
Yeah.
That might be what's happening too.
Like it seems like it shouldn't happen, but it is very easy for a person to think a thing is still going a certain way.
Yeah.
And they're not lying to you when they say that that thing is still being worked on.
Yeah.
Or it means a different thing. But it is hard to tell, because there has been PR that has just kind of outright lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, the line when sort of spin starts becoming actual straight lies can be a little bit foggy.
It's very blurry and hard to tell.
EA is bringing back their NCAA football series.
Yeah.
Which is just going to be called EA Sports College Football, or because that's their new thing, that all their rather than the name of the actual league, they're just calling it EA Sport, like they're doing with football they're doing it for soccer.
Yeah, it's just EA Sports FC. Madden has been Madden for years, or Madden NFL, but it'll probably just end up being Madden.
Now I just now realized why they didn't call it EA Sport, like it's EA Sports FC, not EA Sports Football.
Yeah.
Because because then they'd have to figure out how to do.
Yep.
They're like EA Sports football, but not the one that you're thinking, the other one.
EA Sports, the other football. And then, I think that's kind of their whole aim is they're going to kind of just carve out the names of the leagues to a point where it's like we're just going to do EA Sports basketball.
Apparently Windows made a noise. Sorry.
Did it? Well.
We'll tell it to be quiet.
But and the cool thing about college football, the college football game. Well, I mean, we knew the NCAA was not going to license their logos, designs, likenesses, or any of the other stuff to them, and I have no idea if that means they also have control over the names of the conferences or not. We do know that if you belong to I think they call it the FSB, which is a terrible acronym, but Football Sports Bowl or something like that. If you're players that are eligible to play in football bowls in college, then you are eligible to opt in to the EA Sports College Football, so they may use your likeness and then reimburse you for that or compensate you for the use of your likeness.
FBS,
Thank
Football
you.
Bowl Subdivision.
Thank you.
That is not a use. That is.
Yeah.
That does not describe what it does any better than
no.
Anyway.
Yeah, not FSB, FBS. So, which is definitely not a bowel thing. Football bowel subdivision. So, but kind of cool that their students are going to get paid, and who knows how much that's going to be because it's probably not going to be the same as the NFL Players Association.
And obviously, it was fun to dig up and screenshot very, very old ChillPoint.
Yes,
from season 4, I think, of ChillPoint. Back in Moonbase 3.
Yeah.
When we had the wall painted.
Yeah. And then what I like about this is they actually have it. They have a plan where basically, because they have to get permission from each player, sort of, and so basically the player will, if they get permission, will be the player's likeness. Otherwise, they'll be like replaced with like a generic, sort of a general person. Because
they won't use their name. They won't use they might use the same number, but it'd be like no name, no likeness, just a generic person, just like a putty, just like a Power Rangers putty in a helmet.
Just no facial features at all.
Mm-hmm.
Power
I want
Rangers,
them to go for that.
Power Rangers putty football.
Yeah.
I mean, that might have legs.
Yeah.
That might be fun.
Ironically, that's probably quite difficult to get the copyright for.
Probably, yeah.
And then I got to Photoshop Beige into Dragon Age and Star Wars and Mass Effect and Tony La Russa baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do appreciate the make me a fuckable option in Mass Effect or Tony La Russa baseball.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't a feature of Tony La Russa baseball, but you know what? I haven't played it.
It was going to be that or Spore, and I thought Tony La Russa baseball would be way funnier than Spore.
No, it's definitely funnier.
Yeah. EA has a lot of franchises. SimCity would have been funny, kind of, but yeah.
But that's like doable.
Yeah, right?
Like with the customization tools in Sims, getting you in there is more doable than the other ones.
You can't fuck that giant man. You will regret this.
It was funny that I vaguely remembered this, and so I went and looked up because we've got a folder of all our scripts, and so I went and looked up NCAA in the scripts, and I found that was able to, because I just sort of vaguely remembered that we had done something about it.
Yeah.
And so that's always the interesting thing about ChillPoint having gone on for so long, that we sometimes do stories, and then the implications of that 10 years down the line actually start becoming relevant.
It's nice to be able to point that out to people. We've been here for a while, doing this for a while.
Well, I mean, one of the things I really liked about the 500th episode was the updating of stories from
yeah,
that was cool.
All the websites that are gone now. And Grand Theft Auto 6, maybe?
I mean, probably. That doesn't seem that far-fetched.
Yeah. I do kind of like this because it's very, well, reading the tea leaves or whatever you want to call it. It's the Take-Two is excited about something coming out in the 2025 fiscal year, which will start halfway through 2024.
Yes.
They say that there's going to be that they're going to book a huge amount of profit. And when you look at this stuff, it's like, okay, they've only got one thing that has any chance of having that kind of a profit.
Yep.
It's got to be GTA 6. I kind of want them though. It would be funny if they were just like vastly, overestimating the success of some other,
Like BioShock
or just some other random franchise like Tony La Russa baseball.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing a re-release.
We're gonna do a re-release. $8 billion. Everyone wants this game.
It's got beach in it.
Max Payne. Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, good. That's. I mean, people have been wanting them to kind of get off of the whole GTA Online thing and move away. Like,
It'll be interesting to see.
GTA 5 has been on every console.
It'd be interesting to see what they take from the GTA Online, because there is that kind of that problem that you get into sometimes where you get iterations of like a video game that keeps going, gets better and better and better until it hits online,
right?
And then it just kind of stops because they're like, we could just
You just
keep adding
things,
stuff to this. We don't need to make a new
whatever,
game.
yeah.
Exactly. It's as good as it's going to be in a lot of major respects. So just keep adding content.
So it'll be interesting to see what they sort of take from that, and all the other those kind of open world games that have been around a lot lately, and not even lately, but in the last like 5 years, whether they're gonna change some stuff.
It works out regardless for us, because if it is GTA 6, then the story is, we were right, it's GTA 6. And if it's not GTA 6, then the story is just like, we're wrong. It's this other game they think is going to actually sell.
XCOM Online.
XCOM line.
XCOM Line.
And then there's some stuff that maybe the EU is like, yeah, you can go ahead with Microsoft, go ahead and buy Activision Blizzard King.
I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. I didn't read the
We're
article.
fine.
I just saw that they said the thing.
It's one of those things where it's like, they're saying this. What does that mean? Nobody knows.
So it's not really like a...
It's a little bit interesting in the sense that they initially were against it, and so they've kind of changed their position. But the UK still hasn't changed their position, and I think the US is also still blocking it. So I don't know if the EU not blocking it actually makes a difference, but who knows? It's a thing.
We'll have to wait to see what happens.
So let's talk about some other stories that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, tell me something surprising.
Nicolas Cage is going to be joining the Dead by Daylight roster.
Is that because, is it going to be like his character from that movie where he just keeps complaining about being attacked by bees?
From The Wicker Man?
From The Wicker Man?
No, it's going to be his character from Leaving Las Vegas.
I don't know what that is.
He was an Elvis impersonator.
Oh.
Yeah.
Has he fallen on times so hard he has to be an Elvis impersonator now?
No, in this game, he's a murderer like most Elvis impersonators.
Oh.
So, as far as we know...
Yes, as far as we know.
It is Nicolas Cage not playing a character.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's just Nicolas Cage.
Cool.
We also, at this point, do not know if he is a survivor or a killer.
Maybe he's both. Can you be both?
That's good. You unlock the other. That would be really good. You play one, and if you make it to a certain point, then you unlock the other. God damn. Nicolas Cage from Raising Arizona.
Is it just like he shows up and you're not sure if he's going to run away from you or if he's going to attack you?
Well, he doesn't. Well, all they've announced is there's
like when you play the food chain game in school and you're all running around. Is he like in the middle, so you're not sure if he's just like the predator or the prey?
Oh yeah. You're right. He's not an apex predator, but he's still gonna. Yeah. I thought this was actually, because I didn't read the article for this one either, because didn't really care about this one or the other. But
that's fair.
I just made the assumption it was because of Renfield, because he's playing Dracula,
and that's kind of what we all assumed as well.
Yeah.
But They don't say Dracula is in there as played by Nicolas Cage.
No.
They just say Nicolas Cage is there.
Okay. Gematsu apparently has an article where it says...
saying he's a survivor.
Okay, cool.
All right. I mean, I guess they could put him as a survivor and then put Dracula in as played by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
As a killer. Anyway.
All right.
All right.
The food chain game is what she said, the fuzz bubbles.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you've played this in school, but
You're all given like a little card to say what you are.
Yeah, like maybe you're a rabbit or you're like a
wolf.
wolf, or some of our games had
Plankton.
disease, which was really annoying because the disease was like very at the top.
Yes.
And it's essentially just a very specific game of tag. Like if you're a rabbit, you actually have like so many lives, so you get like a little ring with like all your lives, and then if like the wolf catches you, they take one of those away, you get to run away.
Yeah.
And by the end of the time, it's to see if you've survived or not.
Right.
Yeah. I liked being either at the bottom or the top, because then you knew whether or not you had to run away or you could just chase everybody.
Exactly.
Because you didn't have like an
least you
indicator.
knew where you stand.
There was no indicator on you of what a person was, so you had to like. You could fake some people out. Some
Right.
people would be prey, and they would fake out predators who were in the mid tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ubisoft has not had a great time of it lately.
No.
Which is saying something, considering we were just talking about Blizzard having a lot of trouble and, Microsoft's some various things about different video game companies. But anyway, Ubisoft has been notably, not only have they had a bunch of some, high profile human resources problems, as in getting sued for overworking their employees who are working on Just Dance.
There was also
there was some
Bunch of like what
sort
sexual
of harassment allegations,
harassment things.
all sorts of stuff that's not great.
So what flavor of
But
not
on-
good time are they having now?
But on top of that, they've also not actually been doing well at the thing they're supposed to be doing, which is making video games.
Oh no.
Because they've had a couple of video games that haven't gone too well. They tried to do a whole NFT thing, which
We could have told them.
we talked
Yeah.
we talked about repeat. They're the ones who came up with the wolf pants or whatever they were called.
Yep.
Wolf enhanced
Well,
pants.
Wolf
Wolf-enhanced
enhanced
pants.
pants.
Yeah, they wouldn't return our calls. They told us it was a bad idea.
They've canceled a bunch of projects. Even when their Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which I quite enjoyed as a game, didn't sell very well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was well reviewed, but it did not sell very well.
I honestly think that's a little on them.
Yeah.
No, everybody I've seen has either been like, I didn't like the first one, so I'm not going to buy the second one. Fair. Or I was able to buy the first one for $15 after I waited long enough, so why would I spend any money on this game?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So things ain't doing too well. The reason why we're talking about this now is because, again, fiscal year 2023 ended for them. And so they were just talking about this, but there's help on the horizon in the form of exciting new innovative idea.
Oh, good.
Oh, no.
A new IP.
Oh, it's
More
AI,
Assassin's
isn't it?
Creed.
Oh, okay. Assassin's Creed. That's different. Okay.
It's a game. It is an idea
Okay.
that nobody at Ubisoft has ever thought of until now. We should make more Assassin's Creed
Well.
games because people like them.
All right.
Huh.
Okay. That I thought this was going to go very differently and very in a bad place.
I
and no,
actually-
this is not so bad.
Kind of thought what we were going to hear about is like a stream, not just a trilogy, but more Assassin's Creed movies or something like that, or a TV series on Amazon or something like that. But
So yeah, despite coming out in 2020, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has more is bringing in more money and more players. Has brought in more money and more players than both Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey did in their entire lifetime.
well,
Okay.
And it is still so like the 2020 game Assassin's Creed Valhalla is like Ubisoft's biggest game right now,
okay.
which is not great. I mean, it's great for Assassin's Creed, but not great that they haven't come out with something else in the last 2 years.
Sure. Or has
So
anything to do as
basically,
well?
they're very exciting. They're very excited about Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is the next one that's coming out,
Right,
which
yeah,
is supposed to be coming out this year.
We talked about like how they have a bunch of Assassin's Creed
And they have a
projects
bunch
on
of
the
spin-off
right.
projects. So
Yeah.
Okay.
they're really talking. They're saying that this. They're really they're kind of banking on that. They're restructuring to focus on the Assassin's Creed franchise. Also, there's going to be coming. They're hoping to come up with a new installment of The Division.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I like to think there's someone who's just like, okay, this isn't going well, and this isn't going well. What are we gonna do? We only have one hope left. What's that?
there's
The
like
Assassin's Creed.
There's like a little thing with the Assassin's Creed logo that says like break glass.
Yeah. In case of financial difficulty.
Yeah.
It's funny to think this, like, because you're putting all this, and I've seen people in the pipeline being like, Far Cry 6 flopped, there's, you mentioned The Division. Luzinati says X Defiant on top of that as well. There are probably a few other games that, of course, they've mentioned. There's all these, and Mirage and spin-offs and whatever. And it's putting me in mind of, because people go on and on, we're going to bring back to Nintendo. But it's like Nintendo's not releasing anything new this year, or there's only a couple of games coming out this year from Nintendo first party, that kind of thing, like that
Right.
kind of stuff happening all the time. And I'm like, and yet, while there are complaints about that, nobody ever really worries about how Nintendo is doing these days. They're kind of like, they're going to release a game, they're going to sell 20 million of them. Like, people, there's going to be inexplicably 20 million Pikmin fans are going to show up that we didn't know existed and just buy Pikmin 4. Like that kind of.
I mean,
people have this exptation now that's like they're just going to
I
kind of
hope
do
so.
good, right? I hope so too. I hope Pikmin 4 is a great.
I mean,
great,
that's that. We talked about that Blizzard has burned all their goodwill with the community, right? Whereas, Nintendo is definitely still in a position where it's like, yeah, people grumble, but you know that when the new Zelda game comes out, it's going to be good.
And there's this kind of there's a sense there of like, also you have a captive fan base because they are playing the thing. So harder to compete PC, PlayStation, Xbox, that kind of whatever. But the idea that Ubisoft is saying we have more things in the pipeline, we are continuing to work on more things, and when they have put out games in the last little bit, it's been like, even if your game wasn't a financial success, it's not like it was a complete goddamn failure. Like, I'm thinking of when, like, the Assassin's Creed one that takes place in Paris came out, and all everyone could talk about was just eyes and teeth, right, for like a little while until they patched that
It was
stuff.
a little buggy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, if Valhalla's doing as well as it is.
By the way,
Yeah.
that one was a little buggy, and that was Unity, I think.
Okay.
Which was one of the last Assassin's Creeds of the previous the previous generation, which was then sort of rebooted with the Assassin's Creed Origins one, which sort of took it in a slightly different direction. But one of the reasons why they did that split was that they were doing Assassin's Creed every year and they were getting burned out on it.
Fair.
Right,
So,
yes, I remember Assassin's Creed was a yearly franchise, and then they said we should stop doing that.
Yeah, this doesn't have to be Madden.
So,
Assassin's Creed football.
maybe the Assassin's Creed should go back. Maybe now the Ubisoft is like, maybe it should go back to be a yearly franchise because we can't do anything else.
Probably. I mean, that would suck if it's like you have 4 studios working and they're all working on a different Assassin's Creed game. But at least then it'd be like we can release a new one every year, but each studio is working on one that
there's
comes
also,
out every, they have a 3-year cycle to work on.
There's also like player burnout, right?
There's that too.
That's part of the whole
Yeah.
Like, if you bring a brand new one out every single year, while there are people who will be happy, and that's like kind of maybe one of the only things they play. So for them, that's a game every year. For some people, that's just like, okay, I guess this is happening again.
Okay, we know Hyrule pretty well now, Link.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this every year.
But it does make me wonder that I'm like, maybe we are expecting too much of AAA companies, and maybe they're expecting too much of themselves. That they're at a point where it's like we're on a continual revenue chain now. We've gotten so big that it's like we are too big that if we do fail, that we fail so hard, and no one can keep up. And I know there's always that kind of thing of like we need to constantly explore new opportunities for IP or to work on other titles and kind of get out there. And it's like so much of the industry feels like it's stagnating around their IP And I think they take a lot of lessons from, hey, there's a few companies out there that have IP that have done really good. So concentrate on developing your IP and making it stronger and better and faster to release. And therefore will always make money. And it's like, can't all be mad at it.
Are you suggesting that the video games industry is unsustainable and bloated and really expensive for way too little profit?
Well, that, and I also am suggesting that the getting a game to market has to take more time these days. I mean, I just came off of waiting for how many years for Breath of the Wild 2, essentially, right? And it's like, right, so you can... Maybe in the new Assassin's Creed has to take 4 years to come out, and maybe that should be celebrated as a thing. Be like the new Assassin's Creed. It's like it's been 3 years, it's been 4 years, a new one has come out, and there you go, and have a new thing. And we'll do some side games, and we'll do some other smaller stuff, and we'll use that to kind of augment our overall portfolio. But we will concentrate on making this one big thing. Or maybe they have to, because I don't know, just. Assassin's Creed and The Division and I'm just kind of like, why does every game that I feel get talked about from any company always tends to be, here, stand behind this guy and shoot things, or go into this guy's head and shoot things? It tends to be that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they make.
Yeah. Not to say Assassin's Creed is all about shooting people, because it isn't, but...
They also made Mario and Rabbids.
Exactly, right? It's too bad they didn't do better than it did. It should have. But it's nice to see that too. That's like maybe Ubisoft is not in a terrible state.
But anyway, yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. Despite myself, I still have some sort of lingering affection for the good times that I've had playing Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
Despite
I think
them being,
you're allowed to have that still.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There was a time.
I think those feelings are still valid.
Yeah, and there was a time when I was like, yeah, Ubisoft. They're because they were like big but still sort of scrappy a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're owned by, pretty much fully owned by the
Montreal division.
The like Yves Guillemot.
Oh yeah.
The head and fought off.
Acquisitions,
hostile acquisitions a couple times and stuff, and I was like, yeah, cool. But then, of course, as times has got, it's a mid 2000s Ubisoft, but yeah.
Let's just take it as a lesson that lure should remain scrappy.
That's right. We will fight off acquisitions
and
from
hostile
Tencent.
takeovers.
Yeah.
Oh, we will not be acquired by Tencent.
I mean, call us, I guess.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We'll definitely fight it off. Call us. Hey, here's somebody who we haven't talked about lately.
Yeah.
Oh?
Blizzard.
Oh, Christ.
Didn't we just talk about them?
This is a different Blizzard thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think you'd say different Blizzard company.
No. So, totally different department from Overwatch.
Okay.
Diablo 4.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
I thought that was doing well.
by and large, is people are very excited about. And it's looking
slated
very
for
good.
release, yeah.
And it's slated for release, and it seems to be going well. In fact, it's going so well that they are, quote, extremely confident
Okay.
that the servers will be what is it? The upcoming launch of Diablo 4 will not be the subject of server issues that have plagued Diablo 3, for instance, and various other things.
That's posting a flag. You don't do that.
I mean,
that's
granted,
bad luck.
For one, I mean, for one thing, Diablo 4, as is the tradition these days, even if you're playing it single player, you have to go onto the server.
Right.
Which sucks.
Right. And
that happened for Diablo 3 as well. And so people bought the game, wanted to play single player, couldn't because the servers were down.
Yeah.
Or clogged. So they've been doing tests.
Well, good.
They got they did beta and stuff, and they did they've been doing like server stress tests like with the community, like they've been doing like sort of open betas and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I see Barbarian says the server slam went very well for them.
Yeah, so they're optimistic. So I mean, obviously we've heard this before. My take on this was maybe we will see the first ever AAA game that actually gets away with not breaking their servers the first day.
Yeah, 100% uptime on the first day.
It's never ever happened before that I can remember, but maybe maybe Blizzard can do it. Amazon couldn't do it with their server infrastructure. But you know what? Maybe Blizzard can do it.
I don't know that anyone ever does a story that's like, oh hey, this launched and went great. No problems.
Yeah,
but
maybe we just don't hear about those stories.
They will definitely do a story where they're like, this guy said there'd be no problems, and there were all the problems.
Yeah. You know how they should do it? Is they should do it like how you get invited to social media these days, which is like nobody wants to join a new social media platform until you say, well, it's private and invite only. And then everybody wants to join
That's
it.
called beta test.
Yes, and so that's what you do here is you say, well, you can buy Diablo 4, and that's great that you want to have it, but you can only get into the servers if somebody invites you. And then they can roll it out slowly over time and ramp up.
I don't think that would go over at all.
You'll have a lot of cachet to be able to play Diablo 4.
I think you'll just have a lot of angry people.
There's this what I like. There's this story that this server slam test that they just did went really well. Apparently, like the first beta they did was kind of a shit show, but then they went back and fixed a bunch of stuff, and then they came to the server slam. We're trying to do as harsh conditions as they could.
Makes sense.
And apparently it went really well.
Good.
Very. Now the one caveat to that was last weekend when Zelda came out.
Yeah.
So people are questioning whether that was a real. Maybe people weren't actually playing.
Maybe, yeah.
So maybe that wasn't a true test. Who knows? I don't know what the overlap in Diablo 4 beta testers versus people who didn't first day on Zelda.
Maybe though. Maybe it's a true test. Maybe that means the game will fully be live on the day of another really big release.
Oh,
that's true.
So they know it'll work.
It's like we're just gonna wait until the next FromSoft game comes out, and then we're just gonna quietly put it up there.
Yeah, say, hey, it's available now. You can buy it, and then people will be like,
it's like soft launch it.
I'll get to it in a second, but let me just play a little more of this.
PUBG. We haven't talked about that.
Oh yeah,
for a while.
PUBG : Battlegrounds or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds : Battlegrounds.
Yep, that is the name of the game.
Right.
That is the official name of the game.
What
because
they do
things
now?
Are stupid. They just had an update, patch 23.2, which adds, among other things, the recall system.
What season is this?
Allows you to bring people back to life. So you can.
I'm sorry. I thought the whole point was to kill all the people.
Yes.
Well, this is for team matches.
Play. Okay.
So you can have like a squad of like 4 people or whatever.
Oh, so this is that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I got hit, and you can run over and you can heal your guy real fast. And
no, it's a little more complicated than that.
Okay.
I see.
All right.
Some sort of eldritch entity.
You need to. So in order to get somebody to come back, you need to acquire an item called the blue chip. Which is dropped in the player's death box, so that's when they die, all their equipment is there.
Right.
And one of the things in their equipment is the blue chip.
Okay.
Which is their soul. Which and by the way, and then you need to take the blue chip to a blue chip tower, where there's apparently a couple of there's like a certain
22.
number. There's a certain number of towers.
Yeah, there are 22 towers
on various maps.
Yeah, and they're spread about semi-randomly. I think was the idea.
So that hopefully it's within there's at least one within the circle of not death.
Yeah, but there's a very good chance that there might never be a tower within the circle when you need it. So you might have to really.
So then you have to go. So basically, it's not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And also, the other people know that that's where you're going to go.
Yes.
So they can defend it or whatever. So
or they can just take that person's blue chip and you can't have it, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is that you can just, if you kill somebody, if you can run over to their body, you can steal the blue chip.
Yeah.
And then you
I guess you got
take
it.
the power.
I
Throw it in the
guess-
river. Like, I mean,
I
who
guess
gives
it's
a
in your
shit?
inventory slot, so it's like it's not great.
But you could run away and
But-
hide it somewhere. And frankly, in PUBG, everything's moving so fast. It's like if I ran over and took one out of a box, I would just turn around, run inside a house, and like drop it in like behind a bed or something, and only be like about 10 feet away or something. But it would be like,
No.
you'll never find it.
You run over to your buddy who's on your squad, grab their blue chip, kill somebody on the other squad, swap the blue chips,
So that
they go and revive your buddy.
Oh, that's gonna be so good.
I wonder if you could do that.
I don't know.
So,
but
that would
I
be
know it's
amazing.
fun.
I love that idea. Oh, that's sneaky as hell.
And like, yay, our buddy's back. Oh no, who is he?
They're also giving you, there's an item in the game called the blue chip transmitter, so you don't have to run to a tower. If you can find the transmitter as a carry item, you can actually just do it from anywhere on the map. So they're giving you a bit more random nature in
Okay.
there, and it's not obvious when the transmitters will spawn or where they will show up.
I like the idea, or you get the blue chip, kill somebody, take their blue chip, and then while looking at their teammates, eat it.
So, question: why?
So basically,
Like the point of
the reason-
PUBG was like last man standing, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, this is the squad based version, so it's not it's last team standing.
sure, but
And so basically, the idea here is to try to get rid of the bad feels of being on a team and getting knocked out early, and then you're just kind of
Because I'm on
Oh.
your team.
sticking
board
around.
game syndrome.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a
yeah.
rubber band
Imagine
mechanic.
Beej is on your team.
Yeah. And he's assed it up so bad that he's
I'm
number
not
98
reviving.
to die.
I'm never reviving you.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, do
sorry.
we take Beej's chip? Well, the thing is that if you take my chip and you go to a tower and you do revive me, then it's one more person who is technically alive on the map, so that if something happens, I can, like we did the other night in Gloomhaven, I can run in front of the crowd and get shot to draw fire and be like, I'm dying! And then everyone else can shoot where the fire
I'm
came
definitely
from.
taking your blue chip and hiding it on another body and seeing if my plan works.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe I think Beej and I have both played PUBG approximately the same amount of time.
Yes.
Which is as long as it takes to go, this is an interesting game. Walk, boosh.
Yep. I think
Get shot by somebody who you never saw.
I found a guy.
If I
You found a ga? What's a
gu-
ga?
Yeah.
If I recall, Beej realized he could climb on something and then couldn't figure out how to jump off.
I was climbing though. I'm like, oh, well, cool. You can kind of get up on the wall and whatever, and thwack. And I was like, oh, that sucked. Well, it's
Yeah.
over now. So I thought, I thought I saw the chat right, Caillou Protocol, and I was like, it's a very different game.
No.
Activate Caillou
No.
protocol.
No. Absolutely.
Sir,
No. No.
There is no other choice.
No.
All right.
I will be in my escape pod.
I'm just a boy who can't say die.
Didn't bring a spray bottle today. Please don't.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to come up with other options.
Speaking of game updates,
Oh, yeah?
new Splatoon update.
Oh, okay.
Sizzle season
Yeah.
is kicking off on June 1st.
Way to make climate change sound cool, Nintendo.
Did you see who won the Splatfest for the Triforce one?
Who won?
Power.
No shit.
100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
Isn't Splatoon in like a
It's an apocalyptic.
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic
No
Thing.
humans, only squids.
global warming
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, there's that's why there's malls and stuff for them to paint splat at.
Anyway, we had chill season and then fresh season and now sizzle season.
Cool, cool.
They're the interesting things that they're doing. So adding a couple new game modes, a new battle arena. One of the game modes is called Too Many Trizukas,
Oh, God.
which you could probably guess is everyone gets a Trizuka. I've never played the game. I don't know what a Trizuka is, but I have a fairly strong image of what it probably is in my mind.
I believe it's basically kind of like a bazooka,
But three?
but like 3 triangle like splat thing.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've looked at
Yeah.
Splatoon.
A three-barreled
Yeah.
bazooka.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I imagined it would be. and there's an extreme jump battle where everyone can jump very high and all that kind of stuff. They're also adding a couple new weapons. There's the paintbrush, which I swear they already had. Apparently, this is a slightly wider ink spread than the ink brush. Oh, I see. They used to have the ink brush. This is the paintbrush.
It's the same thing probably, but bigger.
The kind of thing you would buy at the hardware store to paint your house with, I think. That kind of shape.
But the more interesting one is the S-Blast 92, which is a super scope.
That's so good. A part of our heritage.
I'm surprised that wasn't in there sooner.
Yeah, it's just the super scope that shoots ink, I guess.
I still have mine.
Does
I think we still have one in the office.
Yeah, probably.
In the gun box.
Yeah, probably.
With a prop gun box.
It's like full of
Yes,
guns.
Yeah.
yes, prop gun box.
Mm-hmm.
Boop, ba-doop, boop, boop,
Oh,
boop.
speaking of like soaker stuff, Paul, did you saw that Power Wash Simulator's getting new DLC, right?
Yeah,
For SpongeBob
for
SquarePants.
for SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, that seems cool. Although, it sounds like it might be a paid DLC.
This is a paid DLC.
Which the last two
I
have been
just
free.
think
So
it's funny because
isn't it all,
SpongeBob is under the sea.
maybe you have like do you have to power air it?
And every time SpongeBob's gone above ground, he's dried out. So, like,
Maybe you just have to
No.
like keep him wet. I don't know.
still, I thought it was neat in terms of like
Yeah.
crossover potential.
I mean, when you start thinking about it, there are many places in the world of video games and pop culture that are extremely dirty and would benefit from the use of a power washer.
Like
Yeah.
Splatoon.
Exactly.
Man, if they could get Splatoon
I would be
DLC,
very happy if they got any kind of Nintendo property in
post
there.
Splatfest cleanup.
I do think Assassin's Creed
mean-
in there would be really cool, given that they have a lot of their stuff kind of like.
might start running into Viscera cleanup detail.
Start putting out the Notre Dame fire.
Wow.
Awkward. Some interesting. So, Valve is changing how they report Steam traffic to developers.
Oh,
So how they report analytics
okay.
Okay.
to ostensibly to protect player privacy.
Were they not before?
Well,
Were they just telling everybody who showed up?
to more protect player privacy.
This is probably kind of. Let me guess where this is going. This is kind of like the differential privacy thing that Apple talked about a couple keynotes ago, where they're like, we take your data, but we anonymize it, but we mix your data with other people's data so that nothing really comes back. A bunch of data comes back, but none of it is actually assigned to you anymore. That kind of idea? Or is this more like just we're going to anonymize it even more?
Well, they've said that. What is it? So basically, they aren't going to give the extremely granular, like basically any traffic sources that are below a certain threshold of volume will just be in the sort of other category. So they're not going to give extremely granular the same. Apparently, up until they've been giving people very, granular in terms of where things came from. This is for like people who go to your Steam page and download your game or whatever, or go to.
Right. So like if only 3 people in all of Victoria
got your game. It might get put together as like this many people from BC got your game. And we're not going to count Victoria as a separate region.
Yeah. So
that kind of thing.
Yeah, they've and so theoretically this is better for user anonymity. The other interesting thing is a lot of developers use Google Analytics on their pages, and current version of Google Analytics is being sunsetted.
Yeah, Universal, I think. Is what
Yeah,
it's called
UA,
right now.
Universal Analytics, and it's being replaced by Google Analytics 4,
Yeah. I got that email.
which is not going to be supported. So, as time has gone on, we've come to realize that Google's tracking solutions don't align well with our approach to customer privacy, which is some definite shade.
That's terrifying, actually, to hear. Okay.
And so, with the migration to GA4, we've made the decision to end our support of Google Analytics system on Steam. Instead, we are focused on building the most useful parts of aggregated reporting system into Steam itself, as described above.
I know there's not a lot of fun things to do in game design, but I have to imagine if you got super excited about working for a gaming company, you're like, I'm going to go work for Valve, and they put you on the analytics design team, I kind of feel like it would have hit a nadir in my own career.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have been like, oh, I thought I was going to like make a shooting man's. It's like, no, you're going to aggregate and anonymize data.
If you're gonna...
You know who doesn't get laid off though?
That's
the guy
true.
who's got all the
True.
all the data for.
I might suggest that if you want to make a video game, maybe going to a place that takes a long time and can't count to 3 is not the place to go.
Yeah, work for a company that actually makes video games.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. If you go into your Valve interview and you're like, what I really want is to work on the 3rd version of a franchise.
Yes.
I just love number 3s.
Yep.
Valve is like, this is not the place for you.
I mean,
Also, for some reason, it's the Count from Sesame Street.
and
Yeah,
let's be
yeah.
honest, the person they're hiring is actually probably not a game designer anyway, like, or not reassigning somebody from a game design department. They hired somebody who lives in SPSS. Like, that's somebody whose job it is to understand statistics. And they're like, yeah, I'll program a whole thing from the ground up.
Probably,
Why
yeah.
don't we do it ourselves?
Elden Ring, which we've talked about briefly before, but not from a gameplay perspective. Elden Ring's story has won a Nebula Award. George R.R. Martin, who wrote, I think he did all the like background stuff for Elden Ring.
Okay.
I think I'm
The establishing lore, or something?
yeah. I think that's how they said it got broken down. Basically, he
Okay.
did all the background stuff, and Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Who is the director of the whole, like, who, yeah.
So
From
Martin
South King.
did writing of the game and overall story. Just sort of world building. Oh, right, he made the world. Yeah, it's like he was like did all the stuff for the world before the calamity or whatever happened
see,
in
okay.
Elden Ring.
And he wins the Nebula Award for that?
Well, the two of them have won.
Okay, okay. I was just like, if they only gave it to just him, I'd be like,
No.
oh, okay.
This is the 3rd Nebula Award for George R. R. Martin, though.
Oh, good for him. That's excellent.
It's because he's only written 2 books.
He's going to finish that 3rd one any day now.
He's done more in that series than that, but
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
8 to whatever.
but
it's
he,
fine.
you know,
Yeah.
when I remember when the game first got announced, and it was like, ooh, George R. R. Martin is writing it, and everyone was just like, thought he was working on a book that we've all been waiting for
See-
ages, and then they kind of stopped talking about him
Yeah.
as much.
Every interview I've seen with George R. R. Martin indicates, like, I think the thing he did for Elden Ring is actually what he liked. Like, world building
Yes.
seems like the thing that he actually loves,
That's good.
and but the actual like story stuff maybe not quite so much.
Ah, okay.
Therefore, harder
Okay.
to do. Yeah.
But man, world building he just goes nutso
So
for.
he's an ideas guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Aren't we
great
all?
thing he's talking about doing the map of, like, he's like, this company came to him and was like, we want to make and sell like maps of the whole world, the Westeros and
Oh, and Game of
the
Thrones.
world of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And they're like super detailed maps, and he's like, that'll be great, and he talks about a map in the book.
Right.
There's like they've got this huge map in the in one of the places they go to. There's this beautiful map, and then he says, and then in this interview he's saying, and then I realized that in that passage I say, this place that they have that map is shown as the center of this map,
Right.
whereas everything I've talked about is to the west of this.
Right.
So that means I now had to, if we want to actually like make this as a map to sell, I need to come up with all the other stuff on the other side there, which is of course kind of like, but you hear that, you're like, that's a total bullshit reason. You just wanted to mess around and come up with a bunch of maps and stuff. But anyway, so in other fantasy series news, Amazon, who
It's a real place.
currently have the rights to some of the Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
The rights for Lord of the Rings are like weirdly split up.
Yeah.
Just like the rings. So which rings are they
It's
allowed
true.
to have?
They've got all the stuff that isn't the Lord of the Rings, I think.
Yes. They own.
They've got like some. They've got some bits, but not the bits. They've got not got the Hobbit and
Right.
certain other parts, but they have other things.
They don't own the contents of they don't own the rights to make adaptations of the context of the text. Of the contents of the text of the Lord of the Rings 1, 2, and 3. They do not own the rights to make anything based on that as a television or movie adaptation, because obviously those exist
Right.
elsewhere.
But they can do it out of 4, 5, and 6.
Well, they can do it out of the Silmarillion. So yes.
No, they don't have the Silmarillion.
Oh, they don't. That's what I thought the Rings of Power was based on. I guess it's not.
I don't know.
Anyway, right. So the world they're allowed to work in, but
why that's relevant is because they've just announced a Lord of the Rings MMO, which, if you have been in the video game, looking at video game industry stuff for a long time, like we have, that might sound familiar.
Yeah.
Because there is currently a Lord of the Rings MMO. It's called Lord of the Rings Online. It came out in 2008.
Great.
It's not terribly popular at the moment.
Okay.
It's kind of on the decline.
Because everyone wants to play Gandalf, but you can't. You have to play Darth Vader instead.
And it also might be familiar because Amazon announced a Lord of the Rings MMO back in 2017.
The first ever.
And then that one got canceled in 2019. So this is another Lord of the Rings MMO. But don't worry, because this one is definitely going to get done.
It's 2023, so if we extrapolate from the previous information, it should be canceled in 2025.
Yeah, something around there.
All right.
But don't worry, they've got the crack team on this that are the team that made New World, which you'll be forgiven for not remembering. But that was
that was their
Amazon MMO.
Yeah.
That I was slightly surprised to know is actually still going.
Is it?
That I have not heard anything about, which, to be fair, we usually talk about when things are broken, so I guess that's something.
I thought we did a CTS when it launched.
There were a few people within the group that were like, let's give this a shot and see what happens.
Yeah,
and
that's why we don't think it exists, is because everybody we know who plays those kinds of games played it for like 2 days or something.
Hard to judge sometimes with us too, because it's like nobody anymore is left in their 20s, where you might have feeling like I'm spending a lot more time doing these things. You have a lot more.
Okay, but Sea of Thieves was something that our friends sort of played, and then like off and on every now and then I know they play.
That's true.
But yeah, so New World also had a fairly rocky launch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had a server problem at launch.
Had some server problems that had some issues with blowing up graphic cards. That was funny. So anyway, that team is going to be doing a new MMO. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. This is mainly I mainly thought this marked the story because I was like, I swear there's been at least like 2 or 3 other Lord of the Rings MMOs.
Yeah.
And yeah,
sometimes video game news is circular.
Yeah. My concern about a Lord of the Rings MMO, and maybe this is just my ignorance of the Lord of the... I mean, I've watched the movies and I enjoyed the books and stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe this is my ignorance of the setting that if you're not like the Fellowship of the Ring, isn't it just like...
You're a writer of Rohan.
It's just like general fantasy hanging out. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of... I guess, I mean, I'm sure you could find stuff to do.
Like, you're not going to run around and be like, well, I got one of the 9 rings. It's like in your 40 buddies being like, me too. Like, it's like, that's not going to happen. Like,
yeah.
It is hard to. I mean, and also there's maybe probably been about 2 or 3
Now-
dozen Lord of the Rings MMOs if you count MUDs and BBSs and stuff like that. I'm sure.
Now, I will say, though, I feel like Lord of the Rings MMO is very well placed for the most important part, which is the fishing minigame. I feel like it could be, I feel like Hobbiton has a very extensive people sitting around fishing. Like, I feel like that's something that probably happens a lot.
There's a very laid-back, hedonistic vibe to hanging out in Hobbiton. So.
Yeah, like, I feel like there could be a really solid fishing minigame in there.
Hedonistic? I really felt
yeah.
like that place was just like a retirement community.
It's just about kind of living there and smoking some pipeweed and just going out and fishing and doing a little farming and just living the slow life that every isekai wants to indulge in.
Retirement community.
Yeah, it's all about just I want to just take it easy and just kind of indulge myself with living in a hole in the ground that's very nice. That hole in the ground is beautiful. Right, and then also just be like, I'm gonna eat some good food, and I'm gonna have a big meal every night and go hang out with my friends, and I don't have to do any real work, and there aren't any like TPS reports waiting for me kind of idea. It's just like I just need to
Because you're retired.
just having a nice time.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a kind of hedonism that that it's not. It doesn't have to be to excess. It doesn't have to be like ultra debauchery or anything like that. There isn't like a giant hobbit fuck pile in the middle of like. Maybe there is. I don't know enough about what goes on in Lord of the Rings. I haven't read the Silmarillion.
But I don't think they published that version.
Yeah, fair.
That was in the letters.
Christopher was like, "I'll just not keep these.
Yeah,
don't put these in the
Grandpa, some of this stuff, maybe we'll put that into the other book."
They say sci-fi fantasy authors get real weird as they get older. Like, so, yeah. You read Frank Herbert's last books? They are,
No, I
odd.
told you
Yeah.
a couple episodes ago I refused to do any more Dune.
That's fair.
All right.
That's fair.
Till your memes get deeper.
All right, that's it for news that we decided was interesting
I was just like, get me out of here.
Yep.
for today. Thanks everybody for watching and joining us on ChillPoint. If you haven't watched the episode of ChillPoint, you should do so. It is up on our YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it is probably near this video somewhere because they're usually beside each other in the YouTube channel.
There's handy playlists.
But until we speak again, we will see all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye. And now it's later.